Alright guys, this is an ANCAP cat here, and today we're doing a Blender tutorial. Basics. Now, Blender is, Blender current version 4.30.2 is a 3D animation and modeling software. It allows you to make 3D assets for video games, TV shows, and movies, and it also allows you to model them. And it also allows you to animate them. And I'm here to show you some basics for the software. This, you see, hold on. This, you see, this is a cube. This is the basic asset that pops up when you start the software. If you want to keep it to model, that's great. If you don't, you simply press X and delete. Left click to delete. X and left click to delete. Yeah. Alright, so if you want to orbit around like I'm doing right now, going you hold down the middle mouse button. Yeah, you just hold that sucker down. Hang on a sec. Why did the keyboard turn off? Yeah, you just hang on. You just hold that sucker down, and okay, it shows my key commands. That's nice. That's helpful. You just hold that sucker down and you orbit. Shift A is where you go to create stuff like meshes, like cube. You want to create another cube? Well, you can press Shift A, and you can select cube, and voila, you got another cube. You got these little icons right here. These are for visibility of whatever you're working with in the scene. Like say I want to make I only want to see the first cube I made, and not the second. Well, I simply go to the icon next to cube 1, which is the second cube, and turn that off, and now you only see one cube. And if I want to turn off the first cube, I can click on the icon by it and turn that off as well. I can turn on one or the other cubes, or I can turn on both. Okay, I just keep clicking that shit. Okay. Oh, sorry. So, you have your little axis gizmo thing right here. It's where it's just your viewport gizmo or whatever. Not your object gizmo, your viewport gizmo. You can press this to get various views. Like if I want to see right from the top, I press that. If I want to see right from the bottom, I click that. I click Z minus. I click Z top to see from the bottom. I click Z minus to see from the top. Z from the top is, it's the positive integers for viewpoint. Z from the bottom is the negative integers from viewpoint. Z from the bottom, you're seeing from the bottom. Z negative, you're seeing from the bottom. Z, just Z, you're seeing from the top. X, click at X, you see from the right. Click X negative, you see from the left. Click Y positive, you see from the right. Click Y negative, you see from the left. Now I can fiddle around with that. We don't have to just create cubes. We can create stuff such as, hold on, we can create stuff such as circles. We can, oh yeah, I need to press Control Z to undo. You can we can get a UV sphere going in. This is good for modeling stuff such as disco balls or soccer balls or basketballs, all of which I modeled before. You can, what else can I do? You can press X and left click to delete. Left click the button that says delete to delete stuff. You can, have, right now we're in, Blender has various different viewports. Viewport is just, all that you see right here. Like the scene, the 3D world environment. you can click which type of viewport you want to see. Like instead of just seeing the layout of the 3D world, if you want to see your UV modeling, your UV editor for editing UVs, which are basically a surface area unwrap of the object you're working on, the asset, you can click UV editing. If you want a texture paint, which is where you paint a texture on an object, you can click texture paint. If you want to control the shading nodes, which are basically these controllers that control how your object looks and behaves, well, at least how it looks, and click shading nodes. Click animation. Haven't quite used that yet. I'm learning. I'm basically learning as I go along for animation. You can click play. You can, move your stuff to animate it. You can click rendering for rendering. You know, render is basically a still completed image of a project. It's not the project file itself, but it's a still image of whatever the hell's going on in the scene. Whatever's going on in the scene. So you can click that. You can uh left click. You can go back to layout if you just want the normal viewport. If you want additional viewports, you can left click, hover your mouse over to like the corner of the viewport and left click and drag. If you want like a viewport coming from the side, if you want a viewport coming from the up or the down, the vertical, you can click this, bring stuff down. And also there's like a way you can bring viewports back up. Oh yeah, like that, yeah. Just like to bring a viewport back up to overlap the other viewport, you just click the corner, the upper left-hand corner of the viewport you want to overlap. Of the viewport you want to do the overlapping, and you click and drag it over the viewport. Sorry, you want to be covered like that. Yeah. And I can also do the similar thing where I click and drag this viewport, the left-hand corner of this viewport to the left to cover up that. No, hold on, let me do that again. I said, okay, like that, and you have to highlight it properly, move it a little under the bar, the toolbar, whatever. Okay, yeah, there. Now we're back to one viewport. And hang on. Let's awaken our cube, I guess, or remake it visible. You have these things in Blender called modifiers, where you have this toolbar right here, one of many toolbars. This is a modifier toolbar. It's a wrench. You left click that, and while you have your object selected by left clicking, you can click add modifier, and you'll get various drop down menus for the kind of modifiers you want to get. Let's say we want to make this thing a bit more like round. Well, we can go to generate, and we can have a bevel modifier. It kind of does what chamfer does in 3ds Max, which is basically round out an edge and a vertice. An edge is basically just, hold on. Oh yeah, that reminds me, edit mode. You can press tab and go in edit mode. And there you can see the edges. You can see your lovely edges of your shape. You can press 2 to be in edge mode. And an edge is just a place where like two faces meet. A face is basically just a shape, a normal polygon. A vertice is basically a corner where, multiple line segments meet. Getting a bit geometric, but then again, it's 3D modeling, so that makes sense. So, if a modifier, you modify the object you're working on. If you want to select all your vertices, press A. If you want to deselect all vertices or all stuff, you press Alt A. If you want to adjust the amount for a chamfer amount, you go up to amount, you hover your mouse, within the field, and you either click left to decrease the chamfering, making it closer to just one edge rather than an edge split up, rather than edges split up, and you click to the right to having an even wider split between edges. You can also hover your mouse over to get this little double arrow and you can just left click and drag, left click and drag to like adjust your amount. And you can adjust the segments too, like, okay, let's say we want to do more than just distance to chamfer. Oh yeah, that reminds me, shift push the mouse wheel allows you to pan around. Instead of just doing this, you can do this. Very useful. You can, oh yeah, going back to segments, if I want to do more than just split edges, if I want to split edges by a certain amount of edges, I can do that. I can go to segments. I can adjust that. If I don't want the modifier to be applied, if I want to apply the modifier, I can just go click and drag and click. Oh, hang on a sec. Hang on. If I want to apply the modifier, I can go into object mode, go back to object mode. This is object mode. You can also left click, select which one you want, edit mode, object mode, edit mode, tap back to object mode, tap back to edit mode. You get the idea. I can, I can do that. I can apply modifiers in object mode, and there we have it. My cube is modifier is finalized. It's applied. It's now a beveled cube. It's not up in the air whether I bevel or not, because now I applied the modifiers, so it is like permanently beveled. So if you want to undo that, you press Control Z. Okay. If you want to redo that, you press Control Shift Z. That Control Shift Z is redo. Control Z is undo. Redo, undo, redo, that kind of thing. If we want to do something other than just, we can add multiple modifiers to a cube. Like say we want to do more than just bevel it, we can click generate and get another modifier. We can get something like let's try an array modifier. An array modifier makes an array or group of what you got clicked. You can increase the count. Sorry, mucus activated. You can increase the count of however much of something you want to make. Right now it's at factor X, meaning it's making the stuff, the array around the X-axis. The X-axis is red. The Y-axis is green. The Z-axis, you can't quite see it, but it's blue. Like if I click G, that's another key you need to know is G and Z, you'll see an X-axis. Pretty cool. This is a cursor, this little target rectangle looking thing. That's important sometimes. Sometimes you're going to want your object to be right at where this cursor is. Alright. Let's say I don't want to create these lovely additional instances of a shape along the x-axis. Let's say I want to do it along the y-axis. Well, I can set it back to 0 for the x-axis, and I can set it to 6 for the y. So now it'll be along the y. Oop, I made a mistake. Sorry. And then that's what undo's for. To undo that mistake. Okay, let's say I want, instead of having it against the x-axis, I want it along the y-axis. Well, I can activate the x-axis by typing in a 1 for, I can activate the y-axis by typing in a 1 for y. Okay, but that makes diagonal. So what if we don't want a diagonal anymore? So, well, I can press 0 for factor x, and now it'll be along the y-axis. This controls how many shapes you have. This controls how far apart they are and what axis the shapes run along. Right now it's on the x-axis again, so if we want these cubes to be farther apart, on the x-axis, we got to make sure that the other axes are all zeroed, and we got to change the factor x to see how far we want these guys to be apart. Alright, so yeah, that's basics of some modifiers. And then if we want to round the z-axis, we can just click 0 to zero out the x-axis. And now we click 1 for the z-axis, and now they'll go along the z-axis. Okay, so that's 2 modifiers are shown. What else should you get to know about 3ds Max? Well, what else you should get to know, and if you don't want to apply modifier, you can just exit out. I mean, left click the X by the modifier name or the modifier buttons, and click X. You know, you don't want that, just click X. Another thing you should know in 3ds Max, I mean, sorry, Blender, not 3ds Max, is that you can click G to move your object around. You want to move something, which you'll have to do inevitably in modeling, well, you press G in Blender, not Max. um, what you want to do when you move something sometimes is just keep it along a certain axis, uh, like say I just want to move something up and down, not this whole left and right, up and down, brahoo-ha, new word. Um, you press G first, and then you press Z, and now it just moves along there. Pretty cool, huh? And now, if you're just wanting to run an x-axis, you just press that, and then it does that. And if you just moves around the x-axis, and then when you want it to just go along the y-axis, you press G, you press Y, and it does that. And as you can see, this cube isn't fully in the center where the cursor is. Well, we can fix that. We can go Object, Transform. Hold on, where is it? Set Origin. We can move Geometry to Origin, which is the cube. The cubes are geometry as we have selected. This is the origin, coordinate 0, 0, 0, 0 on the x-axis, 0 on the y-axis, 0 on the z-axis. So we click Set Origin, Geometry to Origin. Oops, sorry. Hold on. I know how to do this. I know how to do this. Okay, transform, move. Sorry, hold on. Origin to geometry. Let's no origin to geometry. No. God damn it. Okay. Origin to I notice. Origin to 3D cursor. Okay. Well, it didn't quite work, but that reminds me. You should know about something called origin. Not like the origin on the 3D world, like, oh, 0 on the X, 0 on the Y, 0 on the Z. No, not that. Origin on the object. It's like the center of the object, this little orange dot. That's the origin. So, if we want this object to go just to the origin, the 3D world, period, where the 3D cursor is, click transform, origin to center of mass. No, that doesn't do anything. If I could stop clearing my throat. Snap to selection the cursor. There we go. There we go. Selection the cursor. That'll bring your lovely little geometry over to the center of the 3D universe in Blender. Alright, so let's try that again. You go to Object, go to Set Origin. Come on. Origin. No, Snap. Come on, fake. Or selection to cursor, and it makes it go to your cursor, which is currently in the middle of the 3D world, which is where we want it to snap to. Okay. What else should you know about Blender? Scale. Yeah, let's scale. Let's make objects bigger, smaller, proportionally. Well, with that, you do scale. S. You click S, and you click and drag, and you move it. All right. All right. Well, don't 3D objects have to rotate? Well, okay, that's great. You got R for that. Rotate. Woo! Okay, sorry. If you want to rotate just on the Z-axis, you do like that. You spin me right round, baby, right? Okay. If you wanted to just do the Y-axis, you do that like a rotisserie, like you get some chicken on a spit or whatever, and you rotate it around the fire to cook. Okay, yeah. How about X? Let's rotate around X. Yeah, you can do that. All right. It'd be like a rotisserie too. All right. And if we don't want to do any of that, we want to cancel any movement, we just press escape. All right. And let's get this bebe back to the center. So we go to Object, left click Object, Snap, selection to cursor to selected. No, oops, sorry, just reverse. Snap to selection of cursor. No, wait, hold on a sec. Oh. Excuse me, folks. Technical difficulties. Okay, we want to set geometry to origin. Origin to 3D cursor. Damn it. Sorry, I'm having a bad day. Set origin. Origin to 3D cursor. Oh, sorry, I notice. Origin. Geometry to Damn it, I had this. Snap. Cursor to world origin. Okay, there we go. Now we're back in business. And then we go to selection to cursor. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So whenever you want your doohickey cursor to be, you know, moved to the origin of the world, just click Object, Snap, Cursor to World Origin. And there you have it. So that's my basic tutorial for Blender. Hope this helped out. Maybe I can go into other stuff like materials, which is where you make your object look all, you know, have color on it, have effects like roughness, shininess, metallicness, that kind of thing. Make your object have real looking surfaces. Then you have texture. Materials is down here. Texture is down here. Like if you wanna give your object certain patterns and stuff, or paint on your object to, give your object a color, texture in the first place. Anyways, I guess that's it for now. Take care. Bye.